Hey humans, so welcome to the 10,000 subscriber question and answer video. First of all, thank you guys so much for 10,000 subs. That's amazing. I know, I don't know what to do with that. So I thought we would do a Q&A. I've got some yogurt here that I'm eating for breakfast, and I thought it'd be fun to do a makeup get ready with me. I'm gonna do my makeup while I'm answering your questions, and the reason for this is because I have a video, the next video to film, and I thought I would get ready with you guys while I'm getting ready to film that video, which I'm gonna do after this. I would like to issue a official and sincere apology specifically to Bailey Sarian, because I'm not a makeup artist. I'm not good at makeup. I don't pretend to be good. I probably use the wrong techniques. That's why I don't do makeup on my channel. I mean, I don't do makeup on my channel because that's not what my channel's about, but also I'm not good at makeup. So if you see me do something wacky or weird or in a different way, just, let me know in the comments. I would be happy to do a better way, but also it's just the way it is. Okay, so the first question is from subscriber Mama Pink. She says, I'd like to know what you do other than YouTube. Do you work in retail or an office or at a vet clinic? Somehow I see you working with animals, as you probably like them better than people. Thanks for your hard work. You teach me so much about things I've never heard of. I'm enjoying the iceberg series right now. Thank you so much, especially the iceberg series, because that took me so freaking long, so I'm glad you guys enjoy it. First of all, you are correct that I do like animals more than people. That's just a fact. I think a lot of people like animals more than people because they don't do you dirty, Second, the short answer is nothing. I'm not doing anything other than YouTube right now. It's a long story and I won't get into too much detail, but I mean, yes, I've had a lot of jobs. I've worked in retail. My first job was at 17 in an ice cream shop, and I have worked retail after that. I worked in daycare for a couple years where I took care of the babies, the really not preschool, the little babies. I did that for a couple years and that was a lot of fun. And then I also, most recently, I worked in an office where I was actually an executive assistant for a medium-sized company. I worked for about 6 executives, but I only actually specifically reported to one of them, and she was amazing. That's the reason I loved that job and I stayed for as long as I did, because she was one of those bosses that was, a mentor and not just a boss, but she also wanted you to grow and succeed and learn and stuff. So anyway, so I left that job though for a whole other mess of reasons that I won't get into, but I ended up leaving that job, and it was a really great job for a long time. Wow, it's kind of hard to do makeup and talk at the same time. I don't know how. There's a lot of YouTubers that do this and they're very good at it. So I don't understand how they do this. I just did that right next to the microphone. I can't really get into the details for other reasons, but basically, yes, as you guys know, now I don't have another job right now. I'm doing YouTube full time and I can't put ads on my videos right now or make any other money at the moment. Long story, but I can't. So do expect though, I bet you guys, I'm sorry, I know it's really probably cool to not have any ads, but in order for me to continue to do this, I will eventually have to put ads on my videos. My channel is approved for monetization. I just demonetize everything right now. And I'm also planning on a Patreon too. And I have some really cool ideas planned for that. But I am super privileged that I don't have a lot of expenses right now. And I also am a good little saver. And so I am able to do this without regular income because it's a long story. But basically I'm super privileged to be in this position. And it's more fun than you could ever imagine. Lucifer Z. Sorry, I'm gonna say a lot of these names wrong because your usernames are way cooler than my pronunciation is. What's the most disturbing movie / video, etc. you've ever watched? Also, congrats, thank you. For movies, honestly, a lot of people for disturbing would probably expect me to say something like a Serbian film because, you know, I did a video on that, and that I would something like that. But honestly, yeah, that film is like beyond fucked up. Totally agree. But actually, the most disturbing thing that I've ever watched is actually an episode of Black Mirror. This episode of Black Mirror just ruined me. It ruined me. And I think about it all the time and it still creeps me out. The Black Mirror episode that I'm talking about is Crocodile. I don't remember what season it's in. I'm not sure that I could watch that episode like ever again. I'm not sure. Just the realisticness, like I know all of those episodes are super realistic, and I know that's kind of like the thing about Black Mirror, like that's the point of Black Mirror, but like this episode, for some reason, like the murders that she committed are just like so heinous, but just realistic. Like the way that the girl, you know what I'm talking about, in the shed or wherever she's in, she like kills this girl and the girl like starts praying, and they kind of set it up like maybe she'll get out of it, like maybe somehow she will survive, and you know, she's like praying to God that and begging for her life, and she kills her anyway. Not only kills her, but just like oh, okay. If you've seen that episode, you know what I'm talking about. And I have seen every Black Mirror episode except for the movie, and I absolutely adore that show. But that episode is more disturbing than any movie or video I think I've ever seen. As for a video, I actually did a video on my channel about the Dnipropetrovsk maniacs. And I've never seen the actual video of, it's like called 3 Guys, 1 Hammer. I've never watched the video, but I've heard the audio of that. And when I was doing research for that video, I saw pictures of it, like pictures of the victim after he was killed. And I don't need to see the video, but the audio, like making the death sounds that he makes and like just listening to that poor man die slowly and just the worst way anybody could die, is just like, that is probably the most disturbing video in my opinion, because I mean, even worse than Luca Magnotta in a way, because Luca got pleasure out of it too, but these guys just like got they really loved doing this. It was like their hobby. They just wanted to like, let's kill as many people as possible. And that case just like, anyway. So Indeed asked, have you ever had to take a break from a topic that was too disturbing? If so, what do you do to take your mind off of it? And I got a couple questions similar to this. The answer is not for a video that I ended up making. I haven't had to take a break because you kind of just get used to it at some point and you're just doing the research, and you're just so used to all the disturbing stuff by now. I'm sadly really desensitized. And so no, not while I've been like making a video that I proceeded to make. However, I have abandoned a video that I was going to make, and I just stopped mid-research because as I was reading about it, I decided that I couldn't, because when you make a video, like you're not just making it's not like you just open a Wikipedia article and you read about it and then you're like, oh my God, that's terrible. And then you put it down and you go away and you watch TV. When you make a YouTube video about something, you know every single detail about the case. You watch videos and see pictures. And then not only that, but you relive it when you're filming it. And then you relive it more when you have to look it all up and look at the perpetrator's face. Like you have to see so many pictures of their ugly ass faces just over and over and immerse yourself in it, and then you edit it, and that takes hours, and you're just reliving the story over and over and over. Usually that's fine. Like I said, like I really like this kind of stuff and have a really strong morbid curiosity. But there was a case, and this is the Peter Scully case, or Daisy's Destruction is also what it's known as. And it involves just the worst of the worst child abuse that you could ever imagine. And I was going to make a video on it because not a lot of people talk about it, but I couldn't. I looked up the details. I was reading some of the details and I left it. I stopped mid research and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. It was just way too depressing. So, and just way too upsetting. You'll just lose your faith in humanity. As for taking my mind off of things, first of all, my rule is I try to limit my news consumption as it is, but I never watch the news before bed. Never read about the news or anything. Like nope, none of that, cut it off. And then I also never end the day with disturbing things. So I always have a couple hours at the end of the day that I'm watching Modern Family or like How I Met Your, like some really lighthearted sitcom in the background. And then before bed, I'm literally on my iPad playing farm games and Candy Crush and Words with Friends. Like I'm playing really, really lighthearted things that always helps my brain wind down, and I'm never thinking about this stuff before I go to bed. That's the most important part. So that's kind of how I wind down, and that's how I suggest other people wind down when somebody's seen a movie or heard about something so upsetting that it is like really creeping them out, and it works really well, at least for me. By the way, I'm all moisturized and everything. I did that before I started, just so that people, like, I am bad at makeup, but I'm not that bad at makeup that I know I have to moisturize my face before I go in on it, just so everybody knows. Okay, the next question is from Figment Forever. Did any particular crime, event, movie, etc. get you into the content you investigate or cover? For me, I grew up in the late 80s and 90s, and it was the original Unsolved Mysteries. And I got a few other questions like this that I'll include on the screen. So yes, I love Unsolved Mysteries. I think about this question a lot, and honestly, I can't like pinpoint a specific thing that got me into all this. I have to say, I've always had a morbid curiosity. I've always been that person. However, I had a really scaredy cat childhood. I never indulged in it as a kid because you guys, I slept in my parents' room until I was like 12 most nights on their floor by their bed because I would have the most active imagination and I would think that all these things were real. So I didn't start watching horror movies until I was in like my late teens, early 20s. And I kind of wonder if that actually has something to do with it. Like maybe this is me conquering my fears and I got so addicted to conquering my fears of my childhood fears that I just kept going and going and going. No idea. However, I will say there was this one movie that I can remember that I watched as a teenager that I think started getting me into the horror movie thing because I felt really edgy for watching it. And it was a movie called Vampire Clan, and it was a terrible movie. It was low budget. It was bad acting. It was like, I mean, Megan is Missing status, terrible writing and acting and everything. But it's based on a true story, and it's about this guy. I should do a video on it. He thinks he's a vampire, like literally thought he was a vampire, and he had a girlfriend. They hated her parents, and so he ends up killing her parents for her. And the movie is about him, going in, killing her parents, and then them all running away together, trying to get to New Orleans, the vampire capital of the world. And it's a story about that. Again, terrible movie, but I would watch it again. And that movie, I do remember, like, that was the first, like, kind of, like, murdery movie I watched that was really graphic. And I loved it so much. It might have had something to do with the hot guy that played the vampire. Anyway, so that's kind of the movie I remember. And then a few years after university, I went to University of Washington, by the way. I got into this podcast called Sword and Scale. I don't watch it. I don't listen to it anymore because I learned stuff about the host that I think he's kind of not a great dude. I don't agree with his philosophies on life. So I don't support his podcast anymore, but I used to watch it and I used to listen to it, and he had what am I doing? Like, get to work. And he had just some of the most banana stories. He did Luca Magnotta before it was popular, before his story was popular, and the Deprompt Maniacs where I heard about the audio of that video. So I got really into like actually like not just true crime, but like the really disturbing stuff when I started listening to him. So yeah. By the way, okay, you're gonna see me use this disposable sponge. I just want to let everybody know that I don't agree with disposable sponges. I'm gonna get a reusable one, but I bought a bunch of disposable ones years ago and I wanna use them up because I don't wanna just throw them away. So just know that I'm not that kind of person. So Chief Thomas says, as a skeptic, out of all the supernatural beings or phenomena that people claim to be out there, what do you believe is the most likely to be real? I love this question. It's so great. If aliens count, I would say aliens are my number one. I think I 1000% believe that aliens exist somewhere, just like we're aliens to somebody else on a different planet. Like there's no way that we're the only living things in the universe. However, do I think aliens are coming down and probing us and abducting people and then returning them to Earth? No. I don't think personally that aliens have ever been to Earth. Just like how would we get to alien planets? I just don't. Maybe they have better technology, but I just have a hard time believing that they would be able to survive on this planet, in the sense that like how would they breathe and stuff when they were probably, you know, evolved in a different way. That's what I think. So aliens I do think exist somewhere, but if you're talking about, since that's kind of realistic, if you're talking about, you know, vampires and werewolves and stuff, no, but I guess, I think if ghosts exist, I don't think they're like white things walking around. I think they would be like spirits, like energy, you know, like not really like energy, like a thing that's there, but that we don't have actual proof of. Because it's, for me, the ghost thing, it's just like the way that it's presented. I don't see how, there's just too many contradictions. Like ghosts can, you know, knock on your door and then open a door and open your cabinets and like that kind of stuff. But then they're translucent and can walk through walls and stuff and go wherever they want. Like, I don't understand how that works. Why do they die in their clothes and then their clothes become ghosts too? That part just doesn't make any sense. So if they exist, I think they're kind of more like an energy, and still doubtful that they do. However, I have to say I've heard some very convincing stories. I've heard some very convincing anecdotal evidence that people claim. For example, my dad has a friend from college or from his hometown that has a ghost story that even my dad, who's a scientist, like he doesn't believe in any of that stuff. He's very, very skeptical. And even he has to admit that the story is odd. And then just some other stories that just seem very convincing. Like, so I don't know. I think it's hard when there's no evidence to back it up. And it's also hard that I've never experienced anything myself. I would love to go on a haunted tour of America someday and stay in like all the haunted hotels and see if I could get something. I also love ghost tours. Have you ever done ghost tours in your town where you like go with this tour guide that's dressed up all fun and they talk about like all the haunted places in your city and stuff? I've done those and those are so much fun. So I love, like, I'm really fascinated in it, but I don't know if I believe in it, but maybe that makes it more fun that I'm skeptical about it. Fashionit Brew, I know I said that wrong, sorry. Congrats, girl, thank you. What made you start YouTube and where did your morbid fascination start? Mine started from crime scene cleanups. So I kind of already answered this, but what really made me start YouTube is just loving YouTube. And then after doing research and learning that you don't need millions and millions of subscribers to make a good living off of it and to do it like full time. After learning that, I kind of like that's, you know, went for it because I really, really wanted to do it. And I just watched so much YouTube that I thought, why not try myself? It's nothing like you think it's gonna be. It's a lot harder than it looks, which is something you learn real quick, but yeah. And then also, I'll get to this story later for a different question, but Billie Eilish, and I'll explain that later. Kiki Guerrero 89. What level of disturbing do you like and what level is too far? By the way, congrats on 10K. I've been subscribed for a few months and I've been loving the channel. Keep on going. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. What level is too far? Animal abuse and animal cruelty. I can handle small amounts if it's just part of the story, but if it's the main part of the story, I literally watched the entire Luca Magnotta documentary on Netflix with somebody posted on Reddit timestamps where all the animal parts were. And I literally closed my eyes every time they were gonna show part of the video of him with the kittens. Yeah. Every horror movie I'm about to watch, I look up on the website, does the dog die? To see if an animal dies, and if so, in what way. And I can watch the movie still because I know it's fake, but I have to know if it's gonna happen. It's a whole thing. For the level of disturbing that I like, I would say just anything that makes me feel weird. I love that weird feeling you get when you're just like, read something super fucked up. I think that's the feeling that I probably chase when I'm making these videos. Anything that stimulates the morbid curiosity in you, even though I know that's awful because it's so many real people that we're talking about often, but can't help it. I feel like at least you're helping their stories be told. And as long as you focus on the victim and not glorify the perpetrator, I think that's a good way to tell the story. Lord Darwood says, congrats, Hannah. Thank you. He says, or she, sorry, I don't know your pronouns or anybody's pronouns. My question for you is, how is your health now? I figured you were having a bad health problem in the past. Are you doing well now? Are you taking good care of yourself? Thank you for asking. That's so sweet of you. Yeah, a lot of you guys know about 7 months ago, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And I ended up in the hospital for over 2 weeks because I had a full body infection that sometimes comes along with autoimmune diseases. It was a great time. I'll post the picture I posted on Instagram here. This is a picture of me walking for the first time in the hospital. Literally could not walk because I was so sick. I lost the ability to walk for a while I was in the hospital. But I am taking good care of myself. I'm happy to say I'm responding to the treatment really well. I've been responding to the treatment and I am currently in remission for Crohn's disease. So Crohn's is one of those things that never goes away. You have it your whole life, but you can, like cancer, go into remission. And so I technically have it, but I am currently not having any active Crohn's in my colon and immune system. So that's amazing. So I'm doing much better. Thank you for asking. Fishy Lover 16. I love that name. So like I said, I'm not very fancy with makeup. I don't do a lot. I just kind of do some to make myself look good on camera, or if I'm going out, to make myself look like a fierce bitch. And that's about all I do. Fishy Lover 16 says, first of all, I want to say congrats. You deserve it. Thank you. And second of all, I would like to know, what are some creepy and disturbing things you find interesting the most? Anything unsolved I find really interesting. So unsolved mysteries or unsolved cases, because the possibilities are just mind-boggling, like Brian Schaefer, or one of my favorite stories actually that I did a video on is Joan Rich. I think that's how you say her name. That story blew my mind. And I cannot just express how much I think about those kind of cases, because it's just like, what happened? Who did it? And I wish the family, I feel really bad when the family doesn't get closure. I feel really bad that it just blows my mind. And it's just like, I think what freaks me out is that they're out there somewhere. That either their body or them are out there somewhere. And where are they? How are they doing? where is their remains? Like, why can't we get answers? But also not just true crime, like things like phenomenon like the Oakville blobs. I did a video on that too. Like those kind of things, just those weird worldly mysteries also just like creep me out. And I just like find those really fascinating. Like what happened? I also really love media, lost media, and like nostalgia. And you could probably tell because I've done several videos on that. Like the Evil Stick and things like Candle Cove and those weird old creepy commercials and TV shows that we used to watch as a kid that we kind of forget. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Nostalgia, creepy things. Honestly, if there was enough to talk about, I would probably focus my channel more on that. Avant Noir says, what kind of music do you listen to? Let me tell you guys. My favorite music of all time, like the band I listen to, is the Grateful Dead. Both of my parents are like super hippies, and they grew up, they went to Dead shows when they were kids and stuff. And I went to a couple when I was little, I think Jerry was already he died when I was like 3 or 4. So I didn't go to a lot of shows with him in it, but yeah. And to this day, Dead and Company has Bob Weir and some of the other original members of the band, and they still tour around. So I still get to go see them sometimes. I really want to get a Grateful Dead, not a tattoo, not like a dancing bear or anything, but something inspired by one of their songs, I think would be really cool. I like that. Their music just like, I use their music to go to that place, that spiritual place. I just love them. I grew up on the music. I have a weird fondness for it. A lot of people don't really understand because I'm younger than most people that listen to that music, but yeah. The other one, I listen to lots of regular pop things on the radio and stuff now. Like I'm not a total loon, but I was obsessed with Billie Eilish for a while. Like obsessed, like I had a problem. And I waited for this question for this because she did inspire me to start my YouTube channel. And I know that sounds weird, but I think I loved her first album was just her first like actual album was, amazing. And listening to her, I just thought, I was listening to her in 2019. And I think I just had this moment of like, this chick is 17 years old. Like, 17, like she has not lived at all. She's a baby, and she yet is like going for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like she decided to make her dreams come true, for lack of a better word. She knew where she was talented. She knew what her interest was, and she is just unapologetically herself. And a lot of you guys know that, but like she just is so like, she has lived more life not even being 20 yet than most of us have our whole lives. And I think a lot of that is that she's not in her own head, I think, like ever. She's never in her own head, if you know what I mean. And I think I had like that moment where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why aren't I doing something that I would really, really love and enjoy? I'm 30 now, and I'm wasting my life off of these. I know not everybody can just like quit their day job, and I'm not suggesting that you do. I have privilege where that worked out for me specifically, but it just made me want to do something different. So I started my YouTube channel in January or February, I think, of 2020, and here we are. And it's gone pretty well so far. Brendan says, hey, congrats, thank you. I'm curious about your writing and editing process. Do you write a script and stick to it 100%, or do you just write down talking points and then talk about them? And how much do you spend recording and editing, and how much do you chop out? I'd imagine there's a lot of leftover footage. The biggest hurdle for me would be to spend hours looking at my face and listening to my voice to edit. For the script question, the answer is I do stick to a script almost 100%. I write a script almost word for word, and I follow it. However, it does usually change when I'm filming. I think of extra things to say, or I just say things a little differently. But yeah, I do write a script because for my kind of videos, like there's so many details that you have to get right, and you have to make sure that you get the facts right, that you just talking points would not cut it. And you also need things in a certain order to make sense. And you also need, storytelling is an art. And I'm not saying I'm anywhere good at it. I'm working on being better at it. But for storytelling, you also need to put things in a certain order and a certain style and put details here and there. Like you just have to have a specific script. The research and the script, you know, like they take a very long time. They probably take hours and hours just because I want to make sure that I have all the facts perfect, or at least as perfect as I could be with the information that I can get. For how much time I spend recording, my recording is usually about twice as long as the video ends up, 2 to 3 times longer. So if I film for 30 minutes, the video usually ends up being about 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes. And then if I like the iceberg videos, those I was filming for about 2.5 hours altogether for those, and they ended up being about an hour for both parts. So yes, I cut out a lot. Editing takes probably the longest out of everything, as you can imagine. 1 minute of your final edit can take anywhere from like 10 minutes to an hour to edit, depending on what the video is about. So to edit a video, like depending on the YouTuber, depending on their style and what they're making the video about, like their video could take anywhere from like 15 to 40 hours for a 12-minute video, because you have to think about the writing process, then the filming process, the editing process, but you also have to make a thumbnail and a title that's gonna get clicked and all that kind of stuff. Like the whole thing takes so many hours. That's why, depending on how long the videos are, sometimes I can only get 1 video out a week, because even though it's the only thing I'm doing, sometimes it takes a really long time. And I'm nothing compared to, you know, creators like Nexpo that makes like documentary style, these like really beautiful art pieces every time he freaking picks up his computer. And to answer your last question, yes, you get very sick of your own face and your own voice. However, I do believe, and I strongly believe, that all YouTubers, maybe not 100%, but most YouTubers have to have just a tiny bit of an ego and just be just like a little, like not full on narcissistic, but just have a tiny bit of narcissism in order to do this, because you do have to look at your own face for a long time. And if you're not looking at your own face, you're listening to your own voice and doing all, like you are a one-man show all just collectively in yourself for hours and hours. Right now, I'm talking to a camera. I'm talking to thousands of people, or hundreds, however many watch this, but I'm just talking to a camera in a room. It's weird. So it is weird, but I think if you're just a little bit egotistical, it's okay. You can, you know, get used to it. I'm gonna do my lashes off camera.
Aha! People that wear lashes. How do you do this every day without just going crazy?
Happy 10K. Jaden Anderson says, happy 10K. I was wondering what your favorite ARG or piece of unreality media is. Thank you for everything. Your work is amazing. Thank you so much. And that's such a great question. Ash vlogs. I started watching Ash vlogs and coverage of Ash vlogs when I started watching Loie Lane a couple years ago. A lot of you guys probably watch her too. And she did this really cool cover of Ash vlogs. And that was the first, like, imagine my surprise when I didn't know what an ARG was, and I started watching Ash vlogs and Loie covering Ash vlogs, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are you talking about? I was so scared that it was real, like a lot of people who don't know what ARGs were. And I read her description that said it was an ARG, and I was like, oh, okay. So I looked up that and figured out what that was, and then I just fell in love with the story. I thought that it was really well cast. I felt like the production value was just really great, and they just did a really good job. And I love how they really immersed everybody in that story, and they never unimmersed themselves. Yeah, that one's definitely my favorite. Glass God Mars says, thank you guys are so nice. Thank you guys all for saying such sweet things to me. The question is, what do you do if you never became a YouTuber? Like, if you look into jobs that have something to do with disturbing things, like a detective, or would you be a police officer? If I could get any job, if I went back to school to get a job, honestly, I would go into, I really want to do crime scene investigation. So not a police officer, but somebody who goes to the crime scenes, like a technician, and takes pictures and like gathers samples and does all the evidence and stuff. And, you know, the detectives obviously do the dirty work, but just to be there, because I'm so desensitized now that I know that it's different. Seeing a picture of a crime scene is really different than actually being at a crime scene. But I don't know. I think that job would be really cool. I think it would be interesting. I also really like the concept of being able to go into places that other people aren't allowed in. Like, I like the idea of the, you know, like in Dexter, have you ever seen, if you watch Dexter, like he gets to always be like forensics and he gets to go over the little caution crime scene line. I just find that really cool. Like, I know that seems really silly, but I want to be able to be like, forensics, and just like climb over the line and be like, can't stop me, I belong here. But yeah, I also think it'd be really interesting to do. And I just think I'd be really good at it. I'm pretty detail oriented, and I would be very like overzealous with my photo taking. And now these are Instagram questions that I got from my Instagram stories. Jason Allen Gaines, are there any horror movies you will never watch? Yes. The one I will never ever watch, and that I don't ever need to see it, I don't even like reading about it or talking about it, is Cannibal Holocaust. You know how I talked about how I cannot handle cases with animal cruelty, and not only is there animal cruelty in that movie, but it was real. It, like, they actually exploited animals and hurt animals, not only killed them, not like we need, you know, not like we're following some tribe that kills for supper, like torturing them for a movie. I think that movie is a despicable abomination that never should have been made. And I hate anybody who was involved in making it. Well, maybe not the actors, because I don't know how much they knew going in. They might have not known what they were going to do, because I actually heard some of the actors were traumatized, you know? So I actually feel bad for them, because they might not have known what they were getting into. But anybody who knew what was going on and did it on purpose, like, first time doing makeup on camera, let's do something really ballsy like red lipstick. Five Nights at Freddy rules. Are you going to do a Randonautica search video? Also, how are you feeling about your dog? I'm assuming you mean my big dog that I posted on Instagram about how my big dog died. That's my family dog. That was the dog we got when I was in high school. Still, I was 17 when we got him. Oh, so cute. We were devastated. I mean, it was awful. I mean, if you've ever lost a pet, you know, it's the worst feeling in the world. But he was definitely ready. He couldn't even get up at the end. He wasn't eating or drinking. Like, it was definitely a mercy, and we had a vet come to the house. So that was nice, and he went with all of us surrounding him. My dog's doing great, my little dog, and I feel way more bad for my parents because they lived with him, and he was such a big part of their routine, and there's just that big hole now, whereas I don't live with my parents anymore, so at least the big dog wasn't part of my day-to-day life. So I guess, yeah, so it's definitely a little easier for me. Oh my God, did you see that? As for Randonautica, fun fact, I actually did try. My sister and I went out and went randonauting to see if, and I started vlogging about it to see if I could make a cool video, but it was so boring. Nothing happened. We kept getting led to these places where there was like, where it was like no trespassing and stuff, and like that was private property, and we couldn't go in there obviously. And then the other places it led to was just like a park. There was nothing interesting. It was just not worth posting because it was just so boring. Yeah, so no, maybe I'll try it again someday. Abdul Reman says, why did you decide to do videos on creepy stuff? Was there a reason for it, or was it just random? It definitely wasn't random. I actually made a couple other videos when I first started YouTube, like talking about like my dog and therapy, and like a cleaning video, because I didn't know what I was doing. And then I finally decided that I needed to niche down, and I thought, what is the one thing I could talk about for literally ever and never get bored? And that is creepy things. disturbing things. What are your pronouns? I'm she, her. Vegelis 1983, which I see your name all the time and I probably said it wrong. Says, what's your favorite video / work in your channel? Probably my clown sightings video. I made like this little short documentary on the scary clown sightings and it kind of bombed. Like I spent so much time on it and like nobody watched it at first, and it's got some views now, but it just like, I don't know, people just weren't super interested in it. And I thought it was gonna do really well because I thought that, you know, everybody who subscribes to me would really like, you know, be interested in that kind of thing, but it didn't. So, you know, that's how it goes sometimes. And it's not, you know, the audience's fault that something didn't land. But that is probably one of my favorite videos just because I feel like I did a really great job on it. It was really fun and interesting to make too. I also really like my disturbing commercial video. I made that video about the disturbing commercial like from my area, from my childhood, that was like about, there was like the creepy dolls in the anti-smoking campaign, and I really loved that video. Again, it doesn't even have 1,000 views. That's okay. It was still really fun to make, but it's just interesting how like sometimes your favorite videos are not the audience's favorite videos, and you have to kind of learn and find a balance between what you really like to make, but also, you know, catering to your audience, because that's why you have a channel and they're the most important thing, of course. And then another username I'm not going to try to say, but I think it's Avant Noir again from YouTube, asked, what's one of your biggest fears? Water and boats. I can't swim. I know. And then something bad happening to my dog. I think about that all the time. Every time we're outside, I'm like, oh my God, somebody's gonna just snatch her. I'm scared of her like somehow detaching herself from her harness and getting hit by a car. I don't know. It's irrational fears, but that's probably one of my biggest, most horrifying fears. Yeah. I'm gonna go put on a necklace and start filming because I gotta film a whole other video. So this has been really fun. I didn't know I could do a makeup tutorial, not a makeup tutorial, but I didn't know I would be able to do makeup on camera. So that's exciting to know. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're here, I just figured this would be a cool video for, I mean, not everybody's gonna watch it because it's not my usual video, but I thought it'd be fun for those that are interested in getting to know me. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys again so much for subscribing and interacting with any of my videos. I really appreciate it. I hope, woo, my makeup fell. I really hope I'm able to keep doing this for years to come, and I love you all. All right, thanks guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.